Well, this should be a fun episode. We're going to talk about a 2-letter word, no. We're going to talk about the things that we say no to with our kids. So all you parents out there, or soon-to-be parents, I know you love your kids and they're so cute and you want to say yes, but you probably say no to your kids with certain things. And so what we thought we'd do in this episode is walk through the 8 or so things. We had to cut it off. That we say no to our kids about and what we say yes to instead.
Welcome to the Family Goals Podcast. We are Shay and Graham Cochran, and we believe that your family can do things differently. The payoffs are worth it, and the little things can have a huge impact.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Graham and Shay here. We're so pumped to hang out with you. Thank you for all the support, liking and sharing the show, whether you do the Apple Podcast, Spotify version, or if you watch on YouTube. Any one of it's great. If you find that these episodes are helping you, share it with a friend or passive-aggressively with your spouse. That's fine too.
We're for that.
So this should be, we're going to go through a lot of stuff in today's episode. We'll try to keep it to the point. Again, similar to what we talked about last week, this isn't prescriptive. This is descriptive of what we have done and hopefully why. So that's maybe the helpful part for you. So then just while you're listening, maybe think about the things that you have said no to with your kids. If you have children in the past that have worked, like, hey, when we say no, there's a reason why, and this has worked. And maybe it'll get you to think about some other things that you can say no to, not just to be mean. We're not trying to be mean, but so that we can say yes to something better.
Right.
And really ultimately raise good humans.
Every no is a yes. Every yes is a no. So we might say no a lot, but it's so that we can say yes on some big things that matter. And obviously, every no is a yes to something else. It's a yes to character development we want to see in them. It's yes to something we want them to build or, So every no is a yes. Every yes is a no. With that, let's jump into our first.
Yes. Well, and one other quick thought there, just because you made me think of it, is saying no is a short term for a long term yes.
Yeah, for sure.
So it is painful and hard to say no to someone you love, especially your kids. They're so darn cute, except for when they aren't, but they're mostly cute. It is hard, but that's a short term no because it's a long term yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Let's kick it off.
Truth bombs.
We're getting started. We're already getting started with truth bombs. You want to kick us off with the first one?
Yes. Okay. So our first no is that we do say no to social media. So we have a 14-year-old, almost 15-year-old, and we have an 11-year-old. Yeah.
Nope.
12-year-old.
We don't even know the ages of our children.
And there's only 2 of them. and a 12-year-old. And so far, neither of them are allowed to be on social media. Now, the reason we won't even unpack all the reasons for that. We're going to do a whole episode on how we've handled tech with our kids, and there'll be a lot about that around social media. But we've said no to social media. There is the one exception of that one app that we let Chloe use, Be Real. We do let her do Be Real. And that's because the way it's set up, and I've kind of looked into it and that kind of thing. So anyway, with the exception of Be Real, they are not allowed on any social media platforms. And I don't honestly know when we will let them get on any kind of social media platform. Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, I think we're kind of like, we haven't really talked about this explicitly, but it's almost the unspoken rule of when they're out of our house, they can decide what they want to do. But I don't see any benefit to
I just love them too much to let them go on social media.
Yeah.
So the yes that we say, the thing that we do say yes to is we do let them be on Pinterest. And so Pinterest kind of allows them to have a space to create, to catalog things. They do follow different people that are on Pinterest that they like, little influencers that they like. The downside is there certainly are things, I mean, they could find like some soggy TikToks on Pinterest and things like that. But for the most part, Pinterest tends to be pretty clean, and they're able to use that as a creative space, and their friends are allowed to follow their Pinterest account. So as they're kind of cataloging beauty supplies and, T-shirt collections and other things of interest to them, their friends can follow it and comment. So they've used it a little tiny bit as a social platform, but that is our yes there in the realm of social media.
Yeah. And right out of the gate, you can see how like arbitrary a lot of this is, like where are we choosing to draw a line?
Yeah.
So this is messy, right? So you might already be like, that's cheating. You already said no social media, and that is social media. This is the fight of like, okay, we don't want this, but they want this. Where can we compromise? And
where can we say yes?
This is where we just have done our research and felt like, okay. And this is also phone checks and like checking everything. Only one of them has a phone. Our 15-year-old has a phone, but it's like checking phones, checking computers, and like we have to talk a lot and look at everything.
Yeah.
Ain't perfect. Some things that are on Pinterest we don't like, but they're both uber creative and they're both pinning things for things they're going to create.
And the internet is a wonderful, beautiful space.
Yeah.
And also they don't need free reign to the internet and all of its dark holes at the age of 15. So
exactly. Yes.
No to social media, yes to Pinterest. Okay.
Number 2, no to TV during the week. Okay, we don't hate TV, just during the week. So
we're so mean.
Dude, no. Does anybody watch TV anymore? Come on. And that includes like Netflix, Prime, Disney Plus, like just no watching media during the week. And the reason's pretty simple for us. It's just like there's other things they should be focused on during the week. We really want them to be focused on homework if there's homework, but then just being with the family. Like if we're gone all day, they're at school and we're working. When we come home in the afternoons, like we want to be together as a family. That doesn't mean we have to like
all be
sit around holding hands. Like the Cochrans are not that. We sing Kumbaya. Although sometimes they probably feel like, Dad, you pray too long at the dinner table. The conversations are too long. We're so weird. Yeah. They probably would disagree. But people can do their things, but we try to stay as connected as possible. So if we got home and if I started watching TV and if they started watching a show, like we would just never.
We would just be individuals living under the same roof. So we want to create connection. Also, we want them to be creative. We want them to be bored. Like we could do a whole episode on that. Like boredom is wonderful. It's an incredible catalyst for creativity. Our kids come up with the most creative ideas when they are bored and they don't know what to do. And so they have to go force or create fun. So not allowing them to be on TVs during the week helps them to create fun. We also don't have any TVs in their bedrooms. That's another thing we've said no to. There are TVs in the family rooms, but there's no TVs in bedrooms. The yes there, though, is that we do say yes to family movie nights. Okay, we're not like totally weird and mean. We say yes to family movie night. Usually that's Friday night. And then we let them watch a few hours, rot their brains out for a few hours of cartoons on the weekends. Yeah. And I have no problem with that. And we get to have a cup of coffee and a slow morning in bed.
Saturday mornings.
I will say I definitely see a direct correlation between my kids' attitudes and watching television, especially when they were young. You let a kid watch TV for 2 hours, they tend to be mean and crabby and lethargic afterwards. So I will say that I won't go on about that, but we do let them, especially now they're older, we let them have a few hours. We usually make them turn it off by 10. So there you go. And we get a nice, glorious, long Saturday morning.
Yeah. So I'm down with it for the most part. But number 3, we say no to sports that interfere with church. So, we're Christians, so church is a really, really important part of our faith. So that's Sunday mornings. There's also Wednesday evenings. They have a youth group at our church that they absolutely love and we love. And so those times are blocked out pretty sacred. Unless we're traveling, like we're going to be at church or be a part of those things. So we make sure that they're not involved in any sports that would conflict with that. So that would mean if there was some kind of travel soccer league or cheer thing and they did events or games on a Sunday morning or Wednesday night, we would say no to being involved in that because that's when we attend church.
Yeah.
So we're not against sports. We do say yes to sports, but just around those blocks. And then we also have a kind of a rule where it's pretty much one sport at a time. Yeah. Sometimes the seasons will overlap for a week or two, but we're like, hey, it's also good prepping them for real life. You can't do all the things you want to do, which is disappointing. So it helps them decision make and filter like, okay, well, I can't do these 2 sports at the same time, but which one do I want more? And so we let them pick one and we'll support that as best we can.
Yeah. So the yes there would be one sport at a time. Yes to one sport at a time. Okay. Next, no and yes is no sleepovers. We've said no to sleepovers since they were young kids. There are caveats and exceptions. But in general, I just don't know if anything good happens after like 10 p.m. when you're with your friends. Certainly now that all of their friends are on phones and on social media and have access to the internet. So and actually some of that came out of a counseling session that I had. I was seeing a counselor and the counselor said, based on her experience and the number of families and children that she's had in her counseling room, she said, I will never let my kids do sleepovers because there's just too much bad that happens at sleepovers. And that was very eye-opening for me because I grew up having sleepovers. Yeah. You grew up having sleepovers. It was no big deal. It never occurred to me that we might not do sleepovers. And then I started to meet some other parents that also didn't do sleepovers as well. So there are exceptions now. I will say when they were kids, we would let them do a stay late. That's what it was called, a stay late. Like you can't, so-and-so's having a birthday party and everyone's going to be there sleeping over. We're like, that's great. You can do a stay late and we will come get you up till like 11 p.m. It's like, we'll stay up. We'll make the 30-minute drive or whatever's needed.
AKA Grandma
and Mom will be sleeping. But one of us, mostly Graham, will be making that 11 o'clock at night drive. But basically, like, we'll let you stay really, really late.
To experience hanging out with your friends.
But we're going to come get you. The exception, so the yes is the stay lates when they were younger. And then there are a few particular exceptions for each girl. And that is a family that we know really, really, really well. We know the mom, we know the dad, we know the family dynamic, we know the
siblings.
We know the siblings, we know the types of rules they're going to have in their house, we know what type of media they're going to be watching, music they listen to. Like, these are families that we know and trust. And so, and cousins, we do let them do cousin sleepovers as well, and we've always let them do that. But they each have a very small group of friends that now that they're older, we let them do sleepovers with. So that would be our yes there.
Yeah, and just like, again, for context, we have girls, and so like when we thought about girls having sleepovers, it's just unfortunately things you have to think about with who are the men in the house, and do we know the men? And I don't want to be judgmental, but this is how things happen when no one's protecting their daughters. And so then even older brothers, if we don't know the older brothers, there's just too many reports of things happening and it can happen to boys too. So again, please hear me out, but I'm just speaking from our experience as a dad of girls. I was like, man, when your counselor was talking about that, that's when I realized the best thing I could do to protect my daughters is to either not let them sleep over at a house at all outside of my care, or I better know every single person in that family and trust them with my life. Yeah. Know that they would never lay a hand on my daughter or show them anything inappropriate or do anything like that.
Yeah. So have stuff that you don't want them seeing laying around the house.
Yes.
Or what are they going to be watching on TV? Like that kind of thing. There's just a lot that goes into that. So it's kind of like a little bit easier. Yeah. Easier. Not easy to say about this.
There were some knockdown, drag down fights with Chloe for a while.
No one got knocked down or dragged out.
Don't call the cops, but she was upset. She can be a little dramatic.
Unpopular opinion.
She did not like
us. No sleepovers.
Yeah, very much.
Okay, I don't know what number we're on.
Next one, number 5. Okay, no to unlimited phone time. Okay, so only one of our kids has a phone. Again, we're going to do a whole technology episode coming up. But
if I could go back, I'd probably have made her wait a little bit longer. But that's an episode for another day.
We're going to talk about that. We waited till she was 13. And we were like the last
8th grade
family that gave their kid a phone. And now I even think that was a little too early. But when she got a phone almost 2 years ago, it's never been unlimited phone time. Just because, I mean, I'm a human and I know how many hours I could lose on my phone. And so it's like, dude, we're not going to. So it's, there's screen time options on your phone, but we limit the yes. The yes, though, is that, hey, we gave you a phone. Okay, so stop yelling at me. I know babies get phones now, and you didn't, but yes, you get a phone. But then we do have a screen time of 2 hours, right? And with iPhones, it's really simple. It can cut off, like she can't use anything.
Total screen time across any and all apps, total is 2 hours a day.
Except for phone calls to our numbers, the Maps app, and texting to our number. So the beautiful thing about that is you can control that. So like, she could be out with friends and her screen time is up because she wasted it, looking at soggy TikToks that she wasn't supposed to see or whatever. But she could always call us, Dad, I'm in a hurry. She could text us. Does that make sense? Or she could have a map and get home. So 2 hours a day.
She could have a map and get home.
She literally could walk home. Well, she's just down like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
Or she's with her parents and she can't get a hold of us.
Yeah.
I thought a map would be helpful.
Maps app.
You want me to cut the map out too? She said, cut the map out, Graham. Too much. Don't give her a map. So we gave her a friggin' map and a compass and a wooden stick and, some peanuts or something. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, we're in the pioneer times.
Yeah, dude. It makes sense in my brain. And the only other thing with the phone is she gets 2 hours and then a 9 p.m. cutoff. So at 9 o'clock, the phone just shuts off.
Yeah.
And to be like, Dad, I was in the middle of...
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
That's all.
You're done.
Yeah.
Go read a book, which she does. And now,
Yep.
interesting enough, she actually has, what's crazy about this, and we'll get into this on the next episode, but just data point, she hated it for a while, but now she's trained herself to want from 9 to 10 p.m. She like creates an aesthetic like routine in her room.
Her little aesthetic nighttime
Her
routine.
lights and candles, and she like gets cozy, and
Her music.
She has her music on.
Yeah.
She like
It's the whole thing.
journals. She reads her Bible. She's just like, I want to actually wind down. She actually now wants to be off the phone. Funny how she hated it at first, but now she likes it.
Yep.
Brainwashing them in a good way.
I can't wait to have a tech
I know,
episode.
we'll do a whole episode
We'll do hookups on that. But no to unlimited phone time. Yes to a phone and 2 hours
a day
there.
Hey, I hope that you're loving this episode. But listen, what we really want to do is save you from one more boring night of tech gather time spent scrolling your phone side by side. We have a better idea. Okay, we've created 5 absolutely foolproof conversation prompts to help you connect with your spouse today.
Yeah, these are like literally fill in the blank, easy, simple questions, nothing heavy, nothing too serious. These are light and fun to do exactly what they say to help you connect. So to get these free conversation prompts, just go to familygoalspodcast.com/connect. They're free, they're fun, use them today. Now, back to the episode.
Okay. Number 6. Where were we on? Sure,
Yes,
6.
that is accurate.
No. Man, we sound like such jerks. Okay. No to buying them stuff. So we just don't really buy our kids toys. One exception is books. We said from the beginning, if you are ever asking for a book, the answer is yes.
I whip out Amazon and I buy it.
And we'll buy it. Now, I realize there's some parents with kids that could crush like a book every 2 days, and that might get a little bit hard.
It.
Expensive, but
Sell a
worth
kidney,
it.
get a book. Books are worth it.
So we will always buy them books. So if we're at Barnes & Noble, whatever, if they come up with something on Amazon, book fair, yes. Like, yes to books. But other than that, we really do not buy them any toys for sure. The way that they get toys are they save up their allowance. They get a small allowance. Our oldest still only makes $10 a week in her allowance if she does all of her chores. Whole nother episode on that. But she can make max $40 a month, and she can use her own money to buy toys. She gets toys at birthdays. We will allow grandparents to buy toys if they want to do that. And we go big on Christmas. And I'll say, and I think that was our yes, yes to going big on Christmas. We didn't always go big on Christmas. When they were little, you really don't need to go big on Christmas. Like especially when you're talking like 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we go big on Christmas, partially because we're in a different financial situation. When they were really young, we had $0 to spend. So you were getting like 3 things for Christmas. But I thought that was kind of great because they actually had time to play with all of the things that they got. They never had a bad Christmas. But we just really didn't go big on Christmas. We couldn't. And I don't think like age appropriately, that would have been a great time. Now that they're teenagers, we go bigger on Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's delightful because they're so grateful and thankful, and they cherish it, and they want to go slow, and they take turns opening, and they're because they didn't get anything all year. They're so grateful that we bought them toys and things that they like, or clothes or shoes. So the other yes, so that's the no, is like if you want a toy, you need to use your money for it. The yes is that we give them a clothing budget. And this started more so when they got a little bit older. I think we started it when Chloe was in 8th grade. She gets, and I'll tell you our budget. I don't know if this is high, low. I have no idea. She gets a budget of $1,000 for the entire year. And we portion it out. So she gets it half and half. And she can spend it pretty much on whatever she wants in terms of clothing. I mean, within whatever we would allow her to buy. But if she wants it on t-shirts, there's a few exceptions. We'll tell her that she needs to allocate for certain things, like you need jeans for school or you need shoes. Anyway, I won't go on and on about that because that will probably go in its own episode about kids and money. Yeah. But we say yes to a clothing budget, a finite clothing budget. So clothes come out of that. School shoes, all that, except for uniforms, comes out of that budget.
Yeah.
That'll be a whole fun episode to do on like kids and money.
We do sound like really awful parents.
I know.
Trust me.
It's funny because when I remember a time I was in the car with Chloe when she was maybe 5 or 6, and she was like, from the back seat, Mom, when I'm a parent, I'm going to do things totally different than you guys do. And I'm like, oh, first of all, buckle yourself in your car seat. Second of all, come again. What is it that you would do differently?
gosh.
And she was like, I think kids should get phones when they're like 4. You know,
This is
she
an
just
actual
had all these.
conversation,
This was a real conversation. She was just,
She's a character.
she was very opinionated about how terrible our parenting was. We're going to get her on this podcast at some point soon, and we'll circle back around and see what she thinks of our parenting now that she's becoming a little young adult. But anyway, okay, I was going to say we said no to buying them stuff. We're jerks. I get it.
All right, so I got the next one.
Okay, go ahead.
So number 7 is no to closed doors in the house. So if you are...
That sounds so gross out of context if you're like, we don't close our doors when we change.
I mean, these rules are for our kids. We can do whatever we want. We're the parents. This is my house. We paid for it. But think about this. What we're saying is you're not allowed to go in your room and just close the door because Lord knows what's going to happen in there. I don't know.
What are you even doing?
What are you even doing in there? You are allowed to go into your room, and if you are changing your clothes, you're allowed to close the door.
Uh-huh.
But
we do let them close the door when they change clothes.
Again, this is the rule. There's exceptions. The rule is like you're not allowed to go hide up in your room,
right?
And
if you live your own little individual life.
Closed doors means there's something you don't want us to see.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you're changing, that's a legitimate reason.
Right.
You should have your privacy to change. And if you're in the bathroom taking a shower, you're allowed to close the door. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, if you were a teenager and you were at some point, you knew what it was like to your room was like your secret safe place. It's like your only little territory. Mm-hmm. And so whether it was something you were doing that was shady that you shouldn't have been doing, or this is the other thing we don't want to create is this idea of we just go off to our own little rooms.
Live our own little lives.
It's almost like they're subleasing a room in our house that they don't pay for, and like they don't want us to bother them as if like we're just a landlord that's getting in their way. It's like, no, we're your parents and we pay. So what we're trying to do is say yes to, yeah, you can be in the house. Yes to no, the yes
You're
is
allowed to live with us.
Yes, it just says yes to being in the house, but there's another word, being together. Yes to being together in the house. And so, for example, like if Vera, who she loves reading books, they both do. She's like, I want to go up. If she's like in her room with the door closed, reading a book, we'll open the door with a, hey, no closed doors. You're more than welcome to read up in your room if you want. She has a cool swing, but we'll encourage them. Why don't you come on downstairs? Sit on the couch, sit on the sofa, and read while we're in the kitchen cooking dinner and mom and dad are talking about their day and Chloe's doing homework at the dining room table. We don't have to, again, hold hands and sing Kumbaya, but I love seeing my family and I love them subconsciously thinking, okay, when I'm home,
we're together.
We're kind of together. Yeah. We don't have to always be doing something together, but just being in each other's presence is a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, you know, when we had smaller homes, it definitely can feel like we're on top of each other and like we really need people to like kind of spread out and everybody needs a little bit of personal space. We're in a larger home now, so we're really kind of we're doing the opposite. We're like, nope, come on down. Come play Roblox in the living room. Come, like, let's come because I can't even hear you. We're not even within earshot of each other. So I understand that this gets contextualized based on the number of people in your family, how large your house is, how many people are in said house together. But the main point being, to me, if you're up in your room and you have your door closed, that signals to me as a parent that you're doing something that you don't want me to see. And so we're just going to keep an open door policy. If you're changing clothes, that's fine. You can close your door, but otherwise, let's just keep the door open.
Yep. All right. And we've come to the end. What is the last no?
No to any form of disrespect, verbal disrespect to mom or dad. And I would say that also goes to the entire family because the thing about respect is you can't just tell your kids, you need to respect me. Don't talk back to me. Don't be flippant with me. Don't be sarcastic with me. You cannot tell a kid to do that and you are flippant towards each other, disrespectful towards each other, saying sarcastic, mean, underhanded comments towards each other or towards the kids. And I think that's one thing that can happen in a lot of families is they're like, well, I wish I could tell my kid to not be disrespectful or to not talk back. That's just not a reality. And I wonder in those instances, is there a lot of the parent speaking really disrespectfully to the kid and parents speaking really disrespectfully to each other and allowing siblings to speak really disrespectfully to each other. Mm-hmm. So I think it only works if it's like a zero tolerance for disrespect rule or, you know, culture that you've created in the house. And so just 100%, there's just no allowance for either of us to speak to each other disrespectfully with harsh, sharp words or sarcastic or cutting down or making fun of in that kind of, in like a aggressive, hurtful way. We do not do that to the kids. We don't say that kind of stuff that's disrespectful to them or hurtful or biting to them. They're not allowed to do it to each other. And then, so then we circle back to like, they're not allowed to be disrespectful to us. So there's just an absolutely zero tolerance policy for disrespect.
So the yes here though is like, 'cause why would you disrespect? It's usually because you're emoting, like you're angry, you're frustrated at something. And so you just, well, I don't like that, or you're stupid, or, you're mean. So something trying to come out. So what we're trying to do is say yes to sharing your feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's almost like teaching a kid, just like adults, like I've had to literally go to counseling to learn how to share my feelings, Graham. Like, how do I share what I'm feeling inside in a way that is respectful and accurate? Because what we don't want to do is say, like, you have to just be like a Stepford wife type thing to our kids. Like, stay in line, be polite, keep your mouth shut, and don't. Like, that's not helpful. That takes you to the other side of the extreme where, okay, now that kid is going to either blow up and get angry and down the road, or have shut off their emotions, which is to be unhuman. So we're trying to say, okay, there's something, you're feeling something.
Yeah, you're allowed to feel something.
I want to let you tell me how you're feeling, but there's a way to share how you're feeling that can be true and helpful to us without being mean or disrespectful. Being angry about something is not a mean thing. You're allowed. Anger is perfectly fine.
You're allowed to be angry.
But what you do with that anger is the difference maker. So I just want to draw that out. We do say yes to share how you feel. And so like when our kids were little and they're punching and kicking, it's like, hey, you can't do that. We have to stop that. What are you feeling?
Yeah.
Which is really hard to do
when they're little.
But
so it's creating the culture. You're just trying to create that culture of like, it's okay that you're feeling something and we want to know how you're feeling. And it's even okay for you to be angry at us.
Yeah, or disagree with us.
At us, disagree with us. But there is a respectful way that you are allowed to share that, and there's a disrespectful way. And so if you're angry at us, we create space to express that anger, and where we're going to listen, and we're not just going to correct or disagree or shoot them down. So you have to have created a culture where you can be honest with each other, and where your kids can be open and honest and say, I'm really mad that you're not letting me go to so-and-so and so-and-so's house or thing, or I don't understand why you're not letting me have a phone until I'm 15. They are allowed to emote. It just has to be in a respectful way. It means you need to control your volume. It means that you're not saying things that are untrue. That comes
overly
out a little
dramatic,
bit, overly dramatic. That is kind of a teenager thing. You never.
Yeah.
We can overlook a little bit of that, but there can't be harsh, hurtful, pointed words. Yeah. So anyway, no disrespect.
Exactly. And think about why, right? This is so practical because at some point they're going to have to deal with coworkers, colleagues, other adults that they disagree with and are upset with. And you just can't just go off the handle on people. You're not going to last long. So it's teaching them, you need to honor your father and mother, right? That's one of the commands in scripture that's like just a good thing to do. But it's like also you need to learn how to interact with other people that you're going to disagree with, that are going to hurt you.
You're going to be angry
and you're
about
going to have feelings that are legitimate. How do you communicate them so you can work through stuff and be like, hey, this really hurt when you said that, but we need to work together. I got to find a way to work together. So it's really practical. It goes back to what we said at the beginning, which is every no is a short-term thing for a long-term yes. Short-term no for long-term yes. So you just decide what you want more of. Do you want the long-term yes of their character development or your relationship with them as an adult child? Or do you want the short-term yes of like,
it's so
much easier to say yes. Don't get
much easier to say
That's the reason why we're doing a whole episode is like the natural thing is to say, sure.
Yes,
when you're at the grocery store, I want those, I want these. Yes. Okay, fine. Yes. Because it just makes the problem go away. That's a short-term yes that gives you a long-term no, right? Short-term benefit, long-term pain. We're just trying to flip it. Short-term pain of saying no for a long-term yes, which is the benefit.
Yep. There you go. No.
What are you grateful for today?
Transition. I'm grateful for us going out to lunch and getting ice cream. I'm grateful for Chill Bros ice cream. The bee's knees was the flavor that I had, and it was chef's kiss.
It was the bee's knees?
It was the bee's knees.
I had the multi-millionaire. M-A-L-T-Y. Multi-millionaire. Just tasted right.
Just a little midday ice cream when there aren't any kids around. Like there's just something just wonderful about that.
If you come to Tampa, check out Chill Bros. It's a good local spot.
Sure.
I am thankful. Gosh, man, you stole mine. I tell you what, I am thankful for our date days because I missed in the last few weeks. She was traveling. I got to travel on one of those trips with you, so we had a date day in Virginia. But it's amazing how connected I always feel to you after date day.
Oh, date day.
Like,
Yeah, for
it's just
sure.
so good. So I'm just thankful for our date days. Yeah.
We should make out now on camera.
You're welcome for that. I just pictured a lot of things in my head.
The longer we hang out together,
we're going to end this.
the more
Because
this is gonna
it's not going to go well. Yeah. Hey, if this was helpful and enjoyable, let us know. And again, please, this is interactive. So like if you're watching on YouTube or if you leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts, like that's a great place to let us know what you want us to talk about in a future episode.
Yeah.
We're literally, this episode was because somebody asked for it. So we're making what you want to hear and see.
Awesome.
See you on another episode real soon.
Bye.